What's up everyone? This is the brand new 2300 PSI Husqvarna electric pressure washer available at your local Costco. Now this is an updated version. In the past they had a 2000 PSI 1.2 GPM unit. This one is 2300 PSI 1.2 GPM. But is that the only difference? And are those numbers actually different, or did they just manipulate the nozzle? We're gonna test that and see exactly what this thing does. Now it's been a little over 3 years since I originally reviewed that other one, the 2000 PSI unit, and that one at that time was 189. This one is currently 249. I get it. It's been over 3 years, inflation, all that kind of good stuff, plus the performance upgrades. I think $249 is a fair price, but I would keep an eye out for Costco when they run sales as well, because I'm sure they will with this thing. Now, before we get any further into the video, guys, if you're just at your local Costco and you're wondering, hey, should I buy this thing? Is it a good unit? Yeah, at $249, I think it's a good unit. Induction motor, which is known to last a little bit longer. The pressure ratings are relatively accurate. The PSI and GPM, relatively accurate. The components, the hose and the gun, not my favorite, so you may want to upgrade that, but overall I think it's a decent unit. All right, now let's go ahead and get into this full review. Let's go ahead and unbox this thing, see exactly what it comes with, see the differences from this model versus the 2000 PSI model, and then we'll get into the testing. We're gonna test the actual usable PSI with the factory nozzles and then see what we can manipulate using other nozzles as well. Then we're also gonna test the amperage, see what kind of amperage this thing pulls so that you know if it's gonna work for your setup. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and pop this thing open and see exactly what it comes with. Now, I did check one thing previously, so it was already open, but the packaging is super nice. These nice air inflated deals, so everything's really, really safe. We have a little instruction manual, warranty manual, all that kind of good stuff that comes with the unit. Now, there are a couple pieces in here, so let me go ahead and pop these out really quickly. And it looks like it's just the nozzles and things. So, and the nozzles, interesting. The nozzles you get a soap dispensing nozzle, which is just basically an open hole, so you might as well not even have that. And then this one's separate in here, but you get a 15 degree, you get a 25 degree, which is the green one here. You get a 40 degree, which is the white one. Okay, so you get those two as well. And then you also get a turbo nozzle. Now, turbo nozzles are a funny thing because they actually, from all the tests I've done in the past, they actually reduce the PSI quite a bit. But because they are just like a straight shot that rotates and kind of oscillates through, they do a fantastic job at cleaning. Now, I don't personally use them on a car. You could potentially on wheels, I guess, but I personally just use a 40 degree all the time. So, but this is great for around the house. Now, let's check the nozzle sizes and see, hopefully they list it. They do, this is fantastic, thank God, because otherwise I would be a bit lost. So, on the, let's see here, looks like they're all going to be the same size orifice. Yes, they are. So, right on the side here, it states, this is the green one, right, which is a 25 degree nozzle, and it is stamped with 2.5, so 25 degrees, 0.16, so 1.6 on the orifice size, which is quite small, like very, very small. So that's probably what they're doing to manipulate it to get it up to that 2300 PSI. Is it basically the same exact unit as the last one, just with a larger orifice? I personally don't remember what size the orifice was. I do, however, know the numbers that we were getting from them, and then I also tested a 2.5 orifice nozzle, and I know those numbers. So when we get to that part and we do test a 2.5, if it's getting the exact same numbers, then we know all they did was manipulate the nozzle to a smaller size to jack up that PSI and drop the GPM a little bit. So with that said, guys, they are all going to be a 1.6 orifice. Again, because that, I only have to test one of them, so that, because regardless of the angle that they are of the fan, if they have the same orifice, they're gonna get the same PSI, same GPM. So we'll just be testing the 40 degree because it's the easiest one for me to do. Let's go ahead and continue on. The pressure washer wand, again, looks fine, nothing super crazy here. It does have a locking mechanism, right? So then it's this red button right here. And it does not stay in place. So you have to push it in, pull the trigger, and then you're good. But if you release the trigger, it snaps back out. So you have to continually do that. Now, the good thing is that you can actually press it on both sides, either in or out, right? So that's a little bit better, but it's a great safety feature to have. However, for me, detailing cars, I'm on and off quite a bit. This would be a big pain in the butt to have to do that. I always recommend upgrading your pressure washer wand and the hose as well anyways. I'll have a list of all that stuff down in the description for you to my favorite ones, especially when you're detailing cars. I like to use a stubby wand. But this seems like a decent quality unit. Now, one bad thing about this is the hose connection is here in front of the handle. I personally don't like that. I prefer that it's back here just so that it's out of the way, especially again, for me, I'm a professional car detailer. When you're using this to wash your car, if that hose is hanging down in the front here, just gives you more potential to have the hose rub up against the paintwork, which could potentially mar your paint a little bit. So that's it. It also does come with a lance extension, which is very, very common, actually required. So right here, ooh, and that is nice that they do include the nozzle storage on the lance. So that's nice. You just pop up this back piece, get it to seat over the O-rings of the part here, and then tighten it down and you're good to go. Then we basically just have the normal 1/4 inch quick connect right on front. All right, moving on guys, I'm just gonna go ahead and pull this stuff out. We have the pressure washer hose. Now on the previous unit, right, the 2000 PSI unit, this was a 25-foot hose. I don't know what this is. I'll check it here in a second. But I do want to state something, and I think it's important to know. It's just the diameter of this hose is quite small. Now, I always recommend the Uberflex hose, and even that one is a 1/4 inch thick. This feels considerably less than that. As far as the quality of the hose goes, it's the same as any of these pressure washer hoses that these come with. They're cumbersome, right? It wants to kind of stay tangled up. Let's check the flexibility, and terrible. It kinked already, and you can see it's staying in the line. I'm just trying to get it to, yeah, it's quite bad. So if you get this unit, I would definitely recommend upgrading your hose, like kind of like one of the first things you do. Let me go grab an Uberflex just so you guys can see the difference. And actually, before I do that, I do want to note something because I already did my research on this, and this is the same as the old one. The connections that go to the pressure washer hose are M22 by 14. Meaning, so an M22 is just basically this type of connection, right? You have the threads on the inside here and then a little piece on the inside as well that has an O-ring on it. M22 by 14 means that this inner portion is 14 millimeters and that fills the hole and keeps everything nice and sealed up. However, on the other side, as you see, this one has a red portion here. This one is an M22 by 15 millimeter. And that's also what the outlet on the unit is. So if you go to replace your hose, you do have to get an adapter. It's really simple. It's just screws on as an M22 15. The other side's an M22 by 14. Then you could screw this on. Super simple. But just so you guys can see, hopefully the one here is slightly bigger. Again, it's only a millimeter, but it is bigger. And if you try and use an aftermarket hose that's M22 by 14, this thing will leak. Now I do want to confirm though, that I just checked, this is a 25-foot hose. So let me go ahead and grab the Uberflex hose so I can show you guys the difference. All right guys, so here is the Uberflex hose. And again, you can get it in different sizes, but this is the one that I like, the blue one, 50-footer. Again, 1/4 inch diameter. So a lot of like the professional grade ones will be 3/8, even up to a 1/2 inch. But again, 1/4 versus this one. And you can see that thing is like, the one that the unit comes with is very, very small. Now you may be wondering, if you replace the hose, is that going to affect the PSI GPM? It shouldn't, because the thing that's really determining that, like the smallest hole that it has to go through, is at the nozzle. And again, the 1.6 is very, very small. So that's what's going to determine your PSI and GPM, not necessarily the hose. I've tested a bunch of different pressure washers, and I've tested them with different size hose diameters, different size lengths, and within the test, there's no measurable difference at all. Now, if you're just pulling the trigger for 2 hours or something like that, you may have a slight difference, but not enough to even be concerned with. So back to the Uberflex hose, guys. This is an M22 by 14 connection point. Now, I have a quick connect on here, which I'll also put in the description for you guys so you can get those if you want to. But here is the flexibility difference. It's just an absolute noodle. And as you can see, you can press it all the way down. It'll kind of roll over on itself, but it doesn't kink. There's no memory to the line. So you don't have any pressure point there that can fail over time. Fantastic, fantastic hose. Also, it's kind of coated so it kind of slides on itself. Again, when you're using an electric pressure washer, for me, this is my favorite type of hose. They're lightweight, they're easy to work with, and they do a great job. All right, guys, and last but not least is the unit itself. Now, this is an induction motor. So induction motors are traditionally known to last a little bit longer, run a little bit quieter. However, for me, from my personal experience of testing these things, when you do start to manipulate the nozzle size, trying to get, make it more efficient for whatever you're doing, the performance really takes a dive. So you kind of want to, we'll test that, but just know that going forward. Let me go and pull this thing out. Yep, that's everything. It's bagged up. Let's go ahead and get it out of the bag. And it's really, really nice that this thing comes all assembled, right? We don't have to do anything. We don't have to add anything. It's just ready to roll. The cool thing about this is you can just hit these little latches here. This part rolls up, okay? Crank it back down. And then you have a normal pressure washer style where you can actually move this thing around. Now, I wasn't sure about this. I had put the turbo nozzle right here, but there actually is a spot for it right on top here that fits in really, really nicely. So that's cool. You have your pump here, the motor's inside. You have a soap dispenser right here on the side. Now guys, I am personally not going to test this. I don't recommend using these. The reason I don't recommend using them is because it's an injector at this point. So the soap goes through your entire hose line. So especially when you're washing a car, yeah, you want the soap application on there. But then when you're done and you're just rinsing, how much residue is still left over in that hose? It takes forever for it to get out. So I recommend using something like a real deal foam cannon. And what these do is they just go right into the nozzle. Here, I'll just plug this one in here for you. There's a basic 1/4 inch quick connect, goes right into the nozzle, and then you're spraying and the chemical comes out right at the end, so you're not contaminating your whole line with your car wash soap or whatever else you're using. Now, as far as the design of this unit goes, I don't remember off the top of my head very, very well exactly what the other one looked like. But from what I remember, it looks exactly like this. So if there are some minor differences, I'm not gonna notice them, to be perfectly honest with you. Now, you do have cord storage right in the front here, which is nice, right? Super nice. Your on-off switch is just a little switch right on the front. Let's see here. Your water inlet is right here, and it's nice, a little brass piece, so that's nice, and a little mesh filter on it. And then the outlet is right here as well on the same side. Now, personally, my preference is that a water inlet comes in on one side, the outlet on the other, just so things stay in line. Not for performance or anything, just for keeping things nice and clean and out of the way. If you have your big garden hose coming in over here and then your outlet hose right next to it, you just have more opportunity of kind of getting all jumbled up. Now the wheels are nice, just a simple little texture to them, nothing crazy, they're totally fine. I really do like the design of this unit. The fact that you can actually fold this down and stow it away, I really, really like that. And guys, one more thing to note is just this little storage unit here. You could pop that in there and then this little piece grabs onto the nozzle, or sorry, to the lance, and holds your wand in place. Really, really simple, but super effective, and I actually really like that. Now, when you put this in, it wants to kind of go through that way, so you just kind of have to force it back a little bit, and then you're good to go. You pop it right in. Now, I'm gonna be testing this thing with the actual components that it came with. The main reason is I don't have a M22x15 to M2214 adapter currently with me, so I can't run my Uberflex hose on it. So we're just gonna use the hose that it came with. Again, guys, the side that has the red tag on it is the M22x15 side. So that's right here, right? And that's gonna go in here. So if you can, let me see if I can grab my phone and get a good visual of this for you. So here we go, here's the M22x15, and it's going to fill this hole, and that O-ring is gonna sit right inside and keep everything solid. And then once you tighten this down, everything's really, really nice. However, again, if you're using the 14 side, the M22x14 side, which is here, you'll be able to see there's just a little bit too much movement. You see that? You can kind of move it around, so that O-ring's not gonna seal anything and you're gonna get the leaks. Alrighty guys, so here we go. We've got the unit all hooked up. The water is connected, the hose is connected, it's plugged in. Now the water is on already, and no, I do not have any leaks, so that's great. Water's going, we're gonna go ahead and pull the trigger and purge all of the air out of the line. So you can hear that blast of air. You can do this for a little bit, just kind of let it go for a little bit. And then after this, let this dude go a little bit, and then I'll fire it on again, still with no tip on it, and then be able to test that, get all the air out that way, including with the unit on. Now, as you can see, guys, it's very, very quiet. Impressively quiet, actually. Does have the total stop, and it also does have the squeak, which is extremely common with these sort of entry-level electric pressure washers. Now, this isn't exactly entry-level. The induction motor is nicer, all that kind of stuff. So it's not a cheap unit, but we are still getting that. So it may go away over time. But with that said, we should be all purged out with the air now. Let's go ahead and throw in that 40-degree nozzle that it came with. Again, 1.6 orifice. And then I also brought over the 2.5 here as well. So we're going to be testing that along with it. I'm actually going to throw that into my pocket so I don't forget. So anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at this. I'm gonna pull the trigger real quick. I gotta say, guys, this locking mechanism, it's very, very annoying for me, just because I'm not used to it, right? I'm sure it's something that you would kind of warm up to and get used to, but for me right now, it's a pain. Alrighty, so just to look at the gauge right now, it does show some pressure built up already. We're at about 500 PSI currently sitting on there. So again, I'm gonna pull the trigger, compress the button first, pull the trigger. 2,000, 2,100, and we're sitting at about 2,100 currently. So hopefully that'll focus so you guys can see that. Let me check it a little bit more. Yeah, 2,100. So not bad at all, because again, this thing's rated at 2,300. However, with that said, these things typically, the pumps have different internals, and they do have to kind of almost break in a little bit, and then they get a little bit more efficient. So we may get to that 2,200 mark. I doubt we'll get to 23 completely, but over time you will get slightly more. So I'm fine with that. Usually within a 10% range is pretty fair. Like typically that's normal. So let's go ahead and test the GPM with this thing. Oh, really quickly though, guys, I want to talk to you about the last unit, the 2,000 watt unit, or sorry, 2,000 PSI unit. And that one, I have some notes in my phone from when I did that initial test. I just went back into the video and checked it all. And the PSI that I was getting with the factory nozzle on that one was an actual 2,000 PSI. So this one is getting more than that right off the bat. Not a lot more, right? Not a lot more at all. But 2,000 PSI was what that one was getting. This one is getting 2,100. On the original one, I was getting 1.18 GPM. So let's test the GPM on this nozzle and see where we're at. All I'm gonna do is take my little measuring bucket here. I'm gonna run it into the bucket for 1 minute. That'll give us our gallons per minute rating. Okay, we're all dry and everything's good to go. And guys, I'm gonna go ahead and monitor the PSI while this is working to see if it creeps up at all yet, but we're currently at 10 seconds, so I'll fast forward this for you. All right, there is 1 minute. Now I do want to note for you guys right off the bat, we're getting slightly better PSI than I had initially thought. We are getting 2,150. So let me go ahead and show you. As that water settles, I'll show you the 2,150. So it takes a little bit of time for it to get up to it, but eventually it does get up to it. So hopefully you guys can actually see that and it's in focus. I'm not sure if you can, but yeah, it's a proper 2,150. All right, now let's go. Now it doesn't look like it's a lot of water here, guys. So let's go ahead and inspect this. So we are sitting just barely under 5 quarts right there, as you can see. So let me do that calculation. I'm just gonna go 5 quarts to gallons and then reduce a little. All right, guys, so at 5 quarts, we'd be sitting at 1.25 GPM. So even if we reduce that a little bit, we're for sure at the 1.2 GPM. So again, not a huge improvement over the last unit, but definitely an improvement. It's definitely getting slightly better numbers across the board. So from 2,000 PSI to 2,150, from 1.18 GPM to probably 1.23, probably. I mean, it's basically 5 quarts, so we could even call it 1.25. So now let's go ahead and change out and try that 2.5 orifice nozzle. Now again, I did test this nozzle on the last unit, same exact size. So it'll be interesting to see how this thing performs. On the last unit, their old version of this, with this nozzle, it was getting 1,000 PSI and 1.32 GPM. So here we go with that 2.5, let's do the PSI test. Again, better than last time. We're currently sitting at just a smidge over 1,100 PSI. All right, so there's 1 minute again. And once again, I underestimated the GPM a little bit. We're getting a proper 1150. So that looks good. So between both nozzles, it's basically 150 PSI more with this unit versus their old one. And as far as the GPM goes, guys, we did increase about 1/2 quart. So you can see we're just barely under 5.5 quarts now. So again, we're just gonna run with the 5.5 quart number. We can reduce that a little bit, but essentially 5.5 quarts. Now comes to 1.375 GPM, 1.375 versus 1.32. So again, not crazy increases, but definitely increases. They definitely upgraded the performance of this thing. Is it worth If you have the old one and you're looking at getting this one, no, I wouldn't say it's worth it. If your other one's working perfectly, then I wouldn't say it's worth it. If you're looking at getting this unit and you're at Costco, at the cost of $249, it's not bad. I think I liked the Greenworks model better that they had. They currently have it still in my store. I don't know if they're going to have it everywhere, but I'll put a link up to that one here. I did a review on that one. I like that one a little bit better, I think. However, the induction motor, it's nice and quiet. The housing on this thing is fantastic. Those flow rates, foam cannon use, guys. Let's talk about that. I did kind of show you what I recommend with that, using a foam cannon as opposed to the water or the soap dispensing inside of it. With those numbers, depending on what foam cannon you're using, you definitely want to go, if you just have a cheap one, you're definitely going to want to go with a 1.1 millimeter orifice just to increase your foam production. If you have an MJJC, you're going to get fantastic foam with this thing, especially if you compare, different soaps will get different amounts of foam as well. The MJJC gets the most amount of foam of the foam cannons. If you pair that with something like, man, there's a lot of different soaps out there, but just an easy one, Adams Mega Foam gets a ton of foam as well. So those would be good options. Let's really quickly test the amperage rating on this thing, and then we'll be good. All right, guys, so amperage test using the factory nozzle, okay? So here we go, I'm gonna pull the trigger. There we go, let's go ahead and inspect. So there you go, it kind of maxed out at 14.16. So great numbers there. You're not gonna have any issue running this thing on a 15 amp breaker, no problem at all. If you go to that 2.5 orifice nozzle, that's going to decrease the PSI, increase the GPM, and drop your amperage as well. So kind of win-win all over the place. All right, guys, so final thoughts on the new Husqvarna 2300 PSI electric pressure washer, available at your local Costco. It's a decent unit. I like it. The motor seems to run really, really nice and clean and quietly. All that's really good. The performance numbers are better than the previous 2000 PSI unit model that they had. So definitely upgrades across the board. At $249, I think it's a decent unit, especially for an inducted motor and all that kind of good stuff. I really like the housing of this thing and the storage on it. What I do not like though, which I really don't like, the hose. Definitely upgrade your hose because this one's just not great. Again, the inlet and outlet on the same side, not a huge deal. I don't like that, but not a huge deal. And then the pressure washer wand, this button is annoying, for me at least, right? Because I'm used to pressure washers not having that. So again, I think it's something that you can get used to, but for me, just first impressions, I don't like that. If this is the unit that you're looking to get for washing cars, I would personally go elsewhere. If you're looking for a unit that you want kind of just all around usage around your home and washing your cars on occasion, this is a decent choice. Again, upgrade that hose, but outside of that, it should be good. So that's it for today's video, guys. I hope that video helps you. Please make sure to like the video, make sure you subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and we will see you on the next one.